Hey everybody, welcome to Two Minds One Podcast. I'm Raymond.
Nathan. This is episode 15.
Episode 15. And if you guys want to do an audio only, you can also find us on Apple Podcast.
Check out the link below. So, we've been gone.
Yeah, we were gone. Well, I went on my honeymoon. Went to Iceland.
I've been working the slave labor at work.
Yeah, they got you work. That salary job, bro.
Yeah, guys. If they ever offer you salary or hourly, guys, take hourly. Man, salary's it's modern day slavery. Anywho, neither here nor there. Iceland.
Iceland. Yes,
So-
I've always wanted to go.
Why?
I've always wanted to go because of the name difference, right?
Between
Greenland and Iceland. So, because Greenland is covered in ice and Iceland is actually not covered in ice. Like only 14% of it is actually covered in ice.
Only 14%.
Hey,
I'm sure like 85% of Canada is covered in ice or some shit.
okay.
But
Whatever.
it's funny how counterintuitive the naming is, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, because it was named by, I don't know who it was named by. The story that I heard when I was there from a tour guide.
The tall tale.
The tall tale was there is this guy, Eric or something, that neither the Norwegians, nor the Icelanders want to claim.
Uh-huh.
Okay. But according to history, supposedly, when you look it up, this guy found Iceland, named it Iceland. Or, my bad, found Iceland, then, before it was named, he was exiled from Norway because he killed his neighbors. So then he was exiled to Iceland. Then he killed also his neighbors in Iceland, what is Iceland now.
Then what now is Iceland?
What is now Iceland. Then he went to Greenland, and he was fucking covered in ice, and he had nobody. So then he named that Greenland and came back to Iceland and named it Iceland. So that people would come to Greenland. Because he was bored. That was
his level of pettiness.
Yeah.
Knows
no bounds.
Admirable. If I'm being 100% honest.
Right.
I respect this man in the level of pettiness.
Yeah. I'm sure it's a joke, but that's the story that their tour guide told us, right? He was in Iceland. He was a native Icelandic. He was really cool.
That's cool. So Iceland.
Iceland, right? And for the greenery and it's a continent in the making. So basically it's like a time capsule of how all the islands or the continents have been formed.
But did you know that prior to going?
Did I know that prior to going? No,
Yeah.
I didn't. That is something I learned there.
Okay.
I mean, I knew it was an island being formed by volcanoes, right?
So it's volcanically active. So it has a lot of volcanoes.
No. Yeah.
Okay,
They have volcanoes
interesting.
that erupt once every year. Or every few
okay.
years. Like, they had one like three years ago.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I mean, not all of them are like big eruptions, right? Some of them are just lava flows. Like, just literally lava flows that come out of places. Yeah.
Just
But-
lava, just molten rock spewing out of the ground. No biggie. It's a Tuesday
Not
morning.
spewing, flowing.
What's the difference, dude?
Spewing is an eruption.
No, an eruption is an eruption.
No, spewing is like it's going zoom. Flowing is like ants coming out of their anthill comes up and then
I would
they kind of
consider
go
that
down like
spewing.
that.
That's kind of crazy, dude. They're kind of going everywhere.
No, but spewing means it goes in the air. At least to me,
Ants don't go in the air. Anyway,
Exactly.
neither here nor there. Whatever.
they're flowing out. They're not
I get
spewing out.
what you're saying.
Okay.
The lava flows out and does not achieve enough force to get airborne.
Yes.
Okay.
It just
Understood.
It's just a law. There's a word for it. I don't remember what it is.
I'm sure it's flowing.
But
Just being an asshole.
yeah, you are. So and when I got there, you actually realize, like I probably could have thought of it that's how all continents were made, right? But you actually, as I learned more things, you're like, it's just lava eruptions over lava eruptions that have
Hawaii.
spread the island out. It grows an inch every year.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I wish I grew an inch every
Yeah.
year. I'm just saying, dude.
And don't we all short people?
I'd be like fucking
all us short people
7,
wish
8
we
by
could
now,
grow,
dude.
right?
I'd be fucking in the NBA. Unstoppable.
He said I would be an NBA god.
Unstoppable, dude.
Yeah. No, the tour guide was funny. He was like, yeah, that's Iceland's secret. It's our secret. He goes, we're taking over the world 1 inch, 1 inch a year at a time.
That's pretty funny.
Oh, we were tired. It was pretty funny.
Sounds like a cool tour guide.
He was awesome. He told us to come back during winter, and he'll take us in his super Jeep. On a real adventure on top of the glacier. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So there are glaciers in Iceland.
So there are glaciers in
Just
Iceland.
like there are glaciers in Greenland.
Yes, but they don't cover a majority.
What's the size comparison of Greenland to Iceland? I'm assuming.
So Greenland's
Iceland
considered
smaller.
It is smaller. Greenland's considered the largest island in the world. Island in the world.
Okay, Greenland is the largest island in the world.
Yes. Greenland is actually smaller than Australia.
So hear me out. Why is Australia not an island?
Because
I understand it's a continent, but from my understanding, an island is covered by water or surrounded by water on all sides.
Okay.
And when you look at the map, Australia looks like a big old freaking island.
So Australia is actually pretty big. Inside.
Just pretty big. I think it's pretty freaking massive, dude.
It's massive, okay? But it's just big enough to be considered a continent. So, Google says an island is body of land surrounded by water. Continents are also surrounded by water, obviously, right? Everything is in this. But because they are so big, they are not considered islands.
Cool.
Australia, the smallest continent in the world, is more than 3 times the size of Greenland.
Okay, that's pretty crazy.
Which is the largest island.
Okay. And Australia is pretty massive. It has everything from a desert to
maybe that's why
a mountain range to a rainforest to a savanna.
Maybe that's how they consider a continent, when you're big enough to have distinction of everything. Like
Okay.
Where your season, like, you can have deserts. Because, like, Iceland doesn't have a desert, bro. Really.
I mean, I'm sure they just have.
So it has like dead areas.
I'm sure they just
have. But those
rocks.
are just they call it inland, right?
Yeah,
I think it was inland.
I'm assuming most of the cities are around the coast.
Oh, all the cities are on the coast.
Just like Australia.
And, like, nobody lives inside, right? But that's also because that's also like higher altitude. Too. Also higher altitude, and it snows more, and in those areas the weather changes are more drastic, and there's more volcanic activity there. Because that's where the American and European continental plates run through. No, separating. So that's why Iceland is so active.
It's separating and the lava spewing up, which is causing them
to do the volcanic activity.
Which causing them to do this, which is why they get
Which is why they grow an inch a year.
Well, that's cool.
So technically, as long as there's not like a major disaster, they will take over the world an inch at a time.
So eventually you're telling me they're going to crash into Greenland and Europe.
Well, no. I don't know. Is Greenland on the same tectonic plate or on a different one? Like, we don't know, right? Because it's 2 tectonic plates.
I don't know, dude.
That's
what is a tectonic plate?
Right?
How do you justify which tectonic plate starts where and which one doesn't?
I don't know, but they called it the American tectonic plate and the European one. I'm guessing because all of America's on that tectonic plate, or all the Americas, right? Or North America, South America, one of the two, is on that plate, and the European one, they call it European because all of Europe is on that.
Funny enough,
or majority
you know
of
what
it.
Talking about tectonic plates reminds me of?
What?
I saw this video that went on a rant about how tectonic plates are all made up and how continents are all made up also.
Well,
which is true, as all words are all made up, as all definitions are arguably all made up as well. And it's just a common thing that we agree upon. But he made a really good point, as in to say, like, there is no such thing as, like, the American tectonic plate. There is just, the tectonic plates.
So here it is.
And where one continent happens to reside, majority on one versus another.
Okay, so there's 7 tectonic plates.
See? Made up.
Okay. Well, the 7 isn't made up. There's 7 large crusts of land on Earth that are moving in either on top of each other, away from each other, or into each other, or sideways. Right?
Yeah.
Because that's all they move. Okay. So the one that's splitting Iceland apart or causing it to grow continuously is the North American plate. And literally all of North America is on that plate. and Greenland. So Iceland will never crash into Greenland because Greenland is also moving an inch away.
So then
the same.
So then therefore,
or half an inch.
So then therefore, you're telling me that the United States, if it's moving, I'm assuming in the direction of the United States, so it's moving this way. You're gonna say that eventually the ocean, Pacific Ocean, I think it's over there. It's gonna, right? It's gonna shrink
on our side over here.
On our side, but California,
technically,
it's shrinking. Technically, so we're technically getting closer to Hawaii. Because there's only a limited amount of space in the Earth's sphere circumference. So if it's being pushed, arguably so the European, that ocean should be getting smaller.
Mm-hmm. So the European one is separating, and the American one is crashing into the Pacific plate. Right. Right, or like, and that's why we get a lot of earthquakes here in California because it's pushing
friction.
Into it. Yeah, because friction.
And it slips.
Yeah. So you have the North American plate, which literally goes like all the way to the Arctic north, which then it meets up with the Antarctica plate. Yeah. So the European
Antarctica. I thought Antarctica was at the south pole.
Antarctica plate at south.
So the North American plate runs all the way down to the south.
No, it covers the top part, and then you have the bottom part, which is Antarctic. I don't know. This image isn't showing me the backside of it.
Okay.
Of the whole globe.
Doesn't matter. Whatever.
But in between them, on either side, you have the Pacific plate.
Yeah.
So that one does run all the way across.
Okay.
Right.
Let's get back to the point. Point is, Iceland's getting bigger every year.
Yeah. So there's a lot of volcanic activity.
That's cool.
Lava. There's lava flows. Everything. No, but we saw a lot of boiling. There's a lot of geysers, a lot of boiling water coming out, clay that comes out from the ground, right? Comes out with the boiling water.
How do the geysers compare to the Yosemite geysers?
So they had one that was, so they had the first geyser, which is the one that all geysers were named after, right?
Like the
word geyser,
the world's first geyser.
No, not the world's first geyser. The one that people call the geyser. The word is Icelandic.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And then it was used for all geysers.
For all...
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because there was people on Iceland before there was people in North America. Well, like civilized people.
Yeah.
Okay, we know that.
The Vikings.
We know that.
The Vikings arrived in North America before Columbus did.
Yeah, in Canada.
Yeah, he still gets a day.
Yeah, there's Eric. It's Eric. I think they call him Eric something was the guy.
Eric Leif Erikson.
Eric something I don't know, is the Viking that he's actually the funny story. He's the son of the guy
who named him.
So the guy Eric, who neither Norway nor Iceland want to claim as a Norwegian or Icelandic person, because he killed people in Norway, got exiled, then came to Iceland.
The guy who named Iceland and Greenland.
Well, the Icelandics say he named him. It's not the legit story. My tour guide told me that the story that because. There was someone else there who was Norwegian. Or, his ancestors is Norwegian, right? But he lives in America. Talking about this guy. And the guy was like, nah, he can be Norwegian. We don't want him. Because he killed people in Norway, got exiled, came to Iceland, then killed his neighbors here as well, then got exiled, left to Greenland. And so the story was that he went to Greenland, didn't have any neighbors, was bored, named it Greenland to get people to come there.
Okay.
Yeah, and then when he was finally, his exile expired, he was able to come back to Iceland and named it Iceland eventually or something like that. But it's a story. I don't think that's like the actual way it was named.
Wasn't all history just his story?
Just stories? Yeah. Well, one of his sons is the one that landed in Canada and created a village
North America.
Which is North America.
Yeah.
Yeah, which, it was funny enough, is Finland.
New Finland?
Vinland Saga, remember the anime?
Yeah.
So the land, Vinland, the peaceful land.
Canada, yeah.
It's North America. It's Canada.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah. So, there was people on Iceland in 800 or 700 AD.
AD. After the death of Christ.
Yeah. Or after death, or whatever, however you want to say it.
Oh, you're right, because they're not
using AD now, but I'm using AD.
I forget what. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's after it's CE or like something like that.
OC or CE.
Something like after Christianity or some shit like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Anywho, neither here nor there. Speaking of
what?
Gregorian calendar, which is the calendar that most of the world uses, which is the AD BC,
the BC
calendar. You know how it came up? How it came to be?
No.
Obviously, if you know about what what BC or AC stands for, is before the death of Christ and after the death of Christ.
And AD was after death.
Yeah. Right.
It was before Christ and after death.
Pretty much, before Christ was born and after Christ was born. Right.
You mean after he died?
Yeah, after he died,
murdered or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Which leads you to believe there's some span of time that is lost because he lived X amount of years. Neither here nor there. The point is, the church...
No, it doesn't let you believe there's a time lost.
Well, if it's before he's born, and then he's born...
No. So it's before he died. So before Christ, it just means all the time, including him...
Before he was born.
No, before he died. I know it sounds...
Okay, I get what you're saying. So
it sounds when he's weird
born,
the way they say
when he's born, it's still BC. When he dies is when
AD started.
Yes.
Okay, so because BC goes...
Doesn't matter.
Backwards.
The point is, yes, it goes... Well, so does AD. Doesn't matter.
But when you tell BC in older time is like 10,000 BC is older than 100 BC. Because 100 BC is closer to 0 or 1 AD.
Yes.
So it would be older in time. Yeah.
Yes. It counts upward.
Yeah.
Like 10 million years ago.
Yeah, but when you're thinking of
it doesn't matter.
Age.
The point is, we're talking about the fucking calendar. The point is, the Catholic Church had multiple different calendars running around about when, because it's very large, as you know, it spans almost...
The Catholic Church, yeah.
Yes, it spans almost the entire globe. Its influence, especially during older times, was...
During the... What do they call it?
Doesn't matter. During the
Crusade.
The Crusades were actually funny.
Uh-huh.
But during all the times, the Catholic Church had a very wide-reaching influence, and as such, it needed a way to contextualize its story in such a way that the timeline of everything made sense to everybody, and it wasn't confusing, because you had people in the East using this calendar and people in the West using this calendar, because the sun sets at a different time and the stars align, blah blah blah. And so what the church did was they ordered a bunch of scientists and mathematicians that were part of the church to figure out a way to generate a calendar that auto-corrected for itself, right? And so
auto-corrected in what sense?
The leap year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I may be wrong on the exact, how often it happens, right? But every 4 years we have a leap year. And as those of you that know, the leap year, is to account for the fact that one day is not actually 24 hours, but it's 23 hours and, 0.942 blah, 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 right? Mm-hmm. It's 23.9 in change or 23.7 in change. Actual hours, right? And so as you go out throughout the years, that extra time that we're saying happened hasn't actually happened, because the actual day is only 23.9 and we're saying it's 24. So we're adding a little bit of time.
Yeah.
So every 4 years you need to add a day to the calendar to account for that. So that way everything's as the same. But then you run into the problem that I think it's every 2,000 years, right? You've added so many days that you need to now take away a day, right? And so the Gregorian calendar is such a feat in mathematics, so that it is always correct and balanced, right? Because I think I could be wrong. It's every 1,000 years or every 100 years. You don't have on that, if it lands on a leap year, you don't have a leap year that year.
That thousand
because you had 365 leap days
already.
Leap days in X amount of time, and you can't account for that. So
it'd be 365 times 4
times 4
would be the time.
I think it's every 2,000 years or something. It ends up being X amount of every certain amount of years, and then
That's
you don't
huge,
have
dude.
that year. You don't have a leap year.
Uh-huh.
And then the calendar and it fixes itself.
Okay.
And it starts all over again in the timing. So it's like a perfect mathematical perpetual motion that keeps it in balance, so that there's no having to adjust the calendar and not having to adjust the calendar, and the fact that it's so complex is what has allowed it to withstand the test of time, and and still be the majority calendar that everyone uses.
Okay.
Right? And it's just really interesting that it's one of the few things that came from, the church being so powerful at the time that we still use to this day.
There's a lot of things that came from the church.
No, that we still use to this day that exists from that point.
Well, the BC and AD was from the church, and then
which is the Gregorian calendar, which is what we're talking about.
Yeah, where they recently changed it.
Yeah, it's
that's the Gregorian timeline.
No, it's the Gregorian calendar.
Okay.
The timeline is relative.
No.
You can choose you can use a Mayan calendar and have a timeline, and export it either infinitely to the past or infinitely to the future.
Okay.
Right? It's the calendar system that the world uses.
Yeah.
Right? Which then informs your timeline.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But anywho, I just thought that was an interesting fact. It's pretty cool.
That I did not know that. So thank you. I learned something new today. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So Iceland.
So I'll get back to Iceland because now you made me run through something else in my mind. That came up because you were the Gregorian calendar. I thought came to my mind. What's the oldest record we have? Like how far back on the calendar do we go?
Oh, it's
of human records, right?
Of humans?
Of records that we just.
It's like the Dead Sea
Not
Scrolls
timeline of humans, like how far of us humans have been on Earth, and that was like 2.8 million years.
We have not been on the Earth for
or something like that.
That was for like 100 something thousand years, I think. Humans, as in me and you.
Oh well,
our version of humans, not.
You mean the Homo sapien sapien?
Yes,
that's us. Yeah,
yes.
No, they're talking about just humans, the species.
Yeah.
In general, has been 2.8 million, and then evolved in that time.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, but so that got me curious about the oldest record of like from us humans.
So like a fossil?
Yeah, like how far back can you say things? Not a fossil. Talk about records of events or language or civilization or something like that on the time on the calendar.
I'm confused. You need to restate that.
Oldest recorded history. How does that work?
I guess, sure.
Oldest recorded history. And we can go back is at 3,400 to 3,200 BC. Which is the correct way, yeah.
Told you.
Yeah, they say BCE.
Before the Christ century.
Yeah, BCE, right? And their oldest recorded history, right? The hieroglyphs found in Tomb Nuge, which is
in Egypt.
Believed to hold the remains of Scorpion 1, one of the first rulers of ancient Egypt. Yes, that's like the oldest recorded history.
Yes, recorded history, like civilization-wise.
Yes, like where somebody recorded the history.
Funny enough, you talk about...
Right, because you got me...
about Egypt.
Yeah.
Now you brought me up. The Library of Alexandria.
Oh, what about it?
It was burned to the ground. And there's no...
When?
Wait, a long time ago, dude.
Oh.
It's the Library of Alexandria.
I thought there was a new one.
No. The Library of Alexandria is supposed to have been a library in somewhere in Egypt or the Middle East. I don't remember where its actual location is. I'd have to look it up. But it was one of the first, places of knowledge that you can go and read. And it was a collection of knowledge of all of the written works that had been collected up to that time. And I believe, if I remember correctly, it was destroyed sometime around when the Roman Empire invaded Egypt. Right? So we're talking about Alexander the Great and Cleopatra's era. timeline. And that
So in that library was basically like all the things of Egypt and
the Middle
their techniques
East,
and
all
like
of this, all the recorded history,
around
Persia,
them, yeah.
Greece, all of that, all the stuff that we have slowly had to decipher and
Well, how to
work
figure
very
out
hard.
what happened then? You
Yeah.
mean okay.
Translations, things like that, scrolls, things like that, recorded histories, of what happened, electoral votes, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Records,
Yeah,
records, like we keep now. It was burned to the ground.
Well, it's crazy because I heard that.
And
I
that
don't know
was
if it was the Romans.
according to history, it is the single most greatest loss of knowledge ever, and it potentially could have set back, humans hundreds of years, because our defining feature is the fact that we can learn and build upon what other people have done.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you, but I do believe that the Egyptians knew a little something about math.
Yeah,
To be able to build stuff, the way they build stuff, and architecture and engineering.
Yep.
And that,
a little something by engineering.
Yeah, that set back future engineers, or people, builders, craftsmen, etc. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which I really find interesting, because I think the statistic is something like 99% of all knowledge that was ever attained by humanity has been lost. Just how 99% of all species
have been
on
lost.
The planet have been lost.
Yeah, they. So the problem is a lot of conquerors conquered and destroyed the history or the knowledge. Like in Japan.
Well, because when you
went through this westernization, they destroyed a lot of their.
You know why they do that?
Their old books and their old like.
One of the best ways to conquer a people is destroy their identity.
Yeah.
You know how you destroy someone's identity?
Destroy their past.
Destroy their history.
Yeah.
So they don't know where they came from. They don't know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the tried and true ways of ruling a new people and essentially wiping the slate clean. You can see it done even in modern today history with North Korea. North Korea has been a communist state for so long that a majority of the newest generation, which is, the boomers, right? The boomer generation, 50s, 60s, right? They have only known communist rule, and their children have only known communist rule, and their children have only known what is the law that they tell them, what is inside of North Korea. That is their world. And they do a really, really bad but good job. Of controlling information and feeding them the information that they want to keep them docile. As such, I'm not an expert, but I'm pretty sure the possibility of a rebellion coming from within North Korea is so low that they have literally broken their people to the point where they don't know anything other than this. They don't know anything other than the shit. Other than, we have a famine every year. Yeah, you have 3 children, and 1 or 2 of them isn't guaranteed to make it. That's life. And our fearless leader, so-and-so, is a god who doesn't, do X, Y, or Z.
Uh-huh.
And it's interesting. You can see it done even in modern history, modern times, of how to break a people and brainwash them by destroying who they were. Or where they come from.
Where they come from, yeah.
Yep. Which is why so much information is lost.
Which is why there's also a big struggle to preserve information nowadays. Now.
Yes.
Yeah. Back to Iceland now. We're getting off topic. Well, we went on rants.
Iceland.
But anyway, let me tell you a cool feature, and then we can go on more rants. All the water, you can drink water from any faucet.
I can drink water from any faucet now.
Without dying.
At my own discretion.
Without dying, okay. You know what I mean.
It's at my own discretion.
Such a smart ass. Good, clean water out of any faucet. Literally turn it to cold water, open it, fill up your water bottle. Don't need to buy water bottles. Iceland didn't have water bottles.
Plastic water bottles?
Plastic water bottles until tourism got big. Because a lot of people coming from other countries were afraid
to
drink the water.
Funny,
right? Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah. It's not like here in America
where they tell you don't drink the tap water.
Don't drink the tap water. Yeah.
Yeah, because the fucking pipes that they use, the infrastructure used to
because the water is filtered. There's no filtered water in Iceland.
Well, it is filtered. I'm assuming
naturally filtered. No, it's naturally filtered, so it's not human filtered, which is the best filter, right? Natural.
Yeah.
It's Mother Nature's filter.
Is it though? Is it though? Hear me out. In order for us to have grown to the level that we're at as a society, we had to figure out ways to purify water artificially, because there's only so much water that gets. There's only
clean water.
There's only so much fresh water that isn't salt, and then there's only so much of that fresh water that is filtered. Clean and filtered and drinkable.
Mm-hmm. So I thought of this realization. I don't know if it's true. My brain came up with the reason for that, for why we had to filter water on these islands, right? So the way an island gets green life on it, right, is dirt. How dirt builds up on an island on the volcanic ash is there's this little small organism that when you look at lava rock, cooled off, right, it looks like a white ashy thing on the rock. Mm-hmm. Well, that thing is feeding off something on lava rock, right?
Like eating the oxidation or something.
Then the algae, right? Algae eats that thing.
Okay.
And then grows.
Okay.
But you know how slow algae grows?
Yes.
Super slow. So it takes hundreds of years for that stuff to grow. Basically, the algae grows, dies. That's a layer of plant. Grows again, dies, and keeps doing that until it slowly builds layers and layers of algae, which then eventually turn big enough to be dirt, and where other plants are.
So dirt isn't just rocks.
It isn't just rocks.
It's a bunch of dead plants.
Yeah.
Interesting. So then that's why I'm assuming there's not a lot of trees in the majority of Iceland.
There's not a lot of the trees, yeah.
Because trees can't grow on rocks.
Yeah. They can't grow on rocks. Dirt. They need dirt because they need roots to spread. Yeah. So where the thickest dirt is, that's where the trees grow. And where the most water.
I'm assuming it's the oldest areas.
No. It's closer to the center.
No. The
oldest of the island?
Yeah.
So the oldest island, part of the island are the edges.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, but there's
not. I'm assuming where the trees are is normally where the oldest areas are, because that's where the most dirt would be. Again, trees need dirt.
Yeah, but no. It's not.
Okay. Well, then fuck logic, I guess.
That's what I said. That's in my brain. I said the same thing.
So then how does that island become tropical then? Just its location?
So, according to Iceland...
So hear me out. So, Hawaii is an island, volcanic and the same. Right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm assuming it's been going through this,
cycle.
Same process.
Yeah.
Right? And it has an island chain that has been generated because of...
I think it might have to do with... So, we know that green plants, specifically even more algae, attract humidity and they keep the air around.
Yeah, they're moist. Yeah, moist. That's why Canada's rainforest is really humid because it has a lot of algae growing on the trees.
So it must be where the island is in the world.
So it just happens to be location.
Yeah, location. Because it does get really cold and it does snow on most of the island.
So does the moss die
and it does also become super dark. I mean, Iceland is way up there.
Does the moss die from the snow? I'm assuming it does.
I'm assuming. I don't know if moss actually dies. It dies or it goes
Does it hibernate?
Or dormant. I don't know.
I don't know.
But I know that all the island doesn't even get covered in snow. I know we think that most people think that Iceland gets entirely covered, but it doesn't. It does snow on the whole island, but it doesn't get completely covered. It doesn't always. It doesn't continue.
It doesn't turn to Greenland.
No, it doesn't turn to Greenland. It doesn't completely snow on the edges. Where all the civilization, it does snow randomly here and there, but it doesn't become total snow for like months on end.
Yeah, like
It's not like Alaska.
Yeah.
Or yeah, that one does.
Dude, crazy fact about Alaska.
Oh, what?
More populated than Wyoming.
I could believe that. Alaska's huge, bro.
But hear me out. Where is it located? In the fucking north. The north.
Yeah.
Pretty much the North Pole.
Yeah.
Right?
It hits into the Arctic Circle.
Okay.
It does. It crosses into the Arctic Circle, yeah.
And Wyoming is where? In the middle of the United States.
Yeah.
In the western United States. The fact that Canada, arguably the United States' most remote state, that isn't very attractive to go to for a lot of people, because it's cold.
It actually
it snows.
is.
It is really
attractive to go for people.
It is attractive to go for people, but not for most people.
No, but it
Yes, it does have a tourism economy.
No, I'm not talking about it. I'm talking about people that would like to go live there. When I went, the life, it's very, so land's like cheap. If you meet the right people, you can buy an acre for like $1,000 in Alaska. And yeah, it's deep somewhere, but people, they like that. They go, they buy a couple acres, they build a home, and they just
become cannibals and
they farm.
Yeah, they live.
They hunt.
Yes, I understand the
Homestead.
appeal. I understand the appeal.
Yeah.
But the point I'm trying to make is, Wyoming is less populated than Alaska, which is.
But isn't most of Wyoming a national park?
No.
It's Yellowstone.
Yellowstone is like, I would say, a fifth of Wyoming.
A fifth.
Yes, and it's not a It is a national park, but it's not all of Wyoming. Wyoming has like 500,000 people living in it.
Oh, Wyoming's huge. Shit, I was looking at the map. Yeah,
It's massive.
It's not even a third of.
Yeah, that's why I said like a fifth.
And then you have the Wind River Reservation.
The Indian Reservation.
The Indian Reservation, yeah.
Right.
And
it has such a unique geography that the towns are so. I'm not even call them cities because I'm gonna call them towns.
Mm-hmm.
There's only like one or two cities. They're so small. They still have that Western rustic vibe. You know, like a saloon, and like they're a community, which is really interesting because they don't want other people to come to Wyoming. The people of Wyoming really want to stay isolated and keep their practically untouched
it might just
wilderness.
be the people that moved there that has caused why Alaska has more people than Wyoming.
But the accessibility of the state.
Yeah, but wait. Okay, so
Alaska's
Alaska's a large exporter of fish.
Okay,
salmon.
but you're telling me that Alaska is more accessible than driving up to Wyoming in 13 hours right now.
No, it's not. But it might be someplace that more people are likely to move to. So, Alaska has two big cities. Two big cities.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Anchorage,
you understand?
Fairbanks.
You understand what I'm trying to say? That it's crazy that more people want to move to Alaska, remote wilderness. What one might argue, what is one of the last final frontiers of
that's what they
true
call it.
wilderness.
Yeah, most of the
versus
state
going
is
to Wyoming, which is arguably just as wildernessly intensive, different. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Most of Alaska.
Wyoming in the summer is gorgeous.
It is.
It is somewhere that I would like to be.
It's
somewhere
gorgeous.
I'd like to explore. It's crazy to think that in the United States we have so much stuff to see. Even here in California, we have the Sierra Nevadas. And I was looking at things that you can do. There's hot springs. You can go to Sierra Nevadas, dude. Right off Highway 395.
You can go hot springs?
8 mile hike up and like a 2,000 foot elevation gain
to get hot springs.
Damn. But like, it's hot springs.
That's cool.
It's pretty cool. Like, which means there has to be some geothermal activity there. But it's crazy. And then there's like alpine lakes, alpine lakes.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I was thinking about that. Got me thinking.
Mm-hmm.
We have these alpine lakes, which are in the mountains, which are far away from rivers most of the time because they're snow fed, or or they feed into a river. Are there fish? Think about it. I'm trying to think. You're 5,000 feet in the air.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. Probably, and I'm gonna
tell you. My idea is probably also.
I'm gonna tell you why. Because how do trees land on a freshly plot of land that just came out of the lava rock? Like, how did Iceland get trees?
Okay, but how did the fish get into the mountains?
I don't know.
Which is why I'm curious. Well, and if there isn't, hear me out. This is the kind of thought experiment. And if there isn't fish,
what's in there?
Obviously, frog. I'm assuming some sort of frog or something, right? But what if you introduce fish into it? What would happen? Obviously, this would be like a pretty big no-no in environmentalism, introducing an invasive species to a new habitat.
Yeah.
But my own curiosity kind of wants to run with it, and like, what would happen? Would it live? I'm assuming you'd have to find a fish that's suitable to the climate, but would it live?
Well, it's a fish that's got to survive. Well, I mean, fish do survive the cold because only the first top layers of water actually freeze.
Gets cold. Yeah.
Right.
So, what would happen? Like,
I don't know.
Salmon swim upstream.
I drove up.
And make their way all the way to fucking Wyoming.
They probably... So, during the melt, right, during spring... Those lakes probably overflow, and they have like rivers, or creeks, or
rivers,
and maybe the fish climb up through there, and then they get trapped.
You're telling me there might be a salmon in? I don't know. I gotta go. I want to check it out.
I want to check it out too. Wanted to go explore Wyoming. I wanted to be able to drive through it.
Yeah, it requires so much time though, too.
Yeah. So you may remember something. 60% of Alaska is national park. Protected land. This is why it's literally called.
A large portion of that also got changed. It's literally called. Not gonna be able. They're not gonna be able to.
Well, that's after the change. Oil. That's after the change.
You can be mined for oil now in Alaska, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Speaking of oil, these gas prices lately, dude.
Bro, California
gas station by your house is at $7.
Gas prices in California, bro, are scary.
Doubloons. $6.89 for 91.
Dude, imagine driving a truck every day, dude. I had to put 25 gallons in. 20 gallons.
You better have lots of excess capital to just spend on going places. Which is why I don't know how people daily drive a truck.
I mean, there's new trucks that give decent gas mileage.
Okay.
24, 26 miles a gallon.
What truck?
The new Chevy.
On what highway?